Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet's love story always seemed like something out of a magical fairy tale. When people first saw them together, they seemed like the perfect couple and made them last forever. Their smiles and warm energy showed the world that they felt deeply connected and full of excitement for life. But what truly happened behind closed doors was more complicated than anyone guessed. Back in 2005, Jason and Lisa met at a small jazz club in Los Angeles. At the time, Jason was a young actor hoping to find new roles and build his name in Hollywood. He had watched Lisa Bonet on TV when he was just a kid, and he admired her from afar. Lisa had become famous as Denise Huxtable on The Cosby Show, and her unique style and calm spirit had stuck with him for years. In fact, Jason liked to joke with his friends that he would marry her one day, even though he had never met her in person yet. When he finally saw Lisa in that jazz club, his heart nearly jumped out of his chest. He was taller and younger, with a wild sense of adventure, and she was calmer and wiser, having already experienced a lot in life. She was also 12 years older than him. That didn't matter to Jason. He was so thrilled to be next to someone he had admired on TV years ago. Something clicked between them that evening. Sparks flew in a way that neither expected. Jason, usually outgoing, felt more shy as he tried to make her laugh. Lisa, who was usually calm and collected, found herself drawn to his big personality and childlike wonder. They left the club feeling like they had just begun a once-in-a-lifetime journey. Over time, they grew very close. Their connection deepened, especially when they had their first child, a daughter named Lola, in 2007. This moment made it clear their love was not just a short fling. A year later, their second child, a son named Nakoa Wolf, arrived in 2008. They seemed to have everything they ever wanted. Two wonderful kids and a relationship built on friendship, trust, and a shared love for adventure. Even so, they did not get married right away. Many fans wondered why, but Jason and Lisa did not feel the need to rush. They were happy taking their time. Finally, in 2017, they had a small, private wedding ceremony with their loved ones in attendance. Jason described it as the best day of his life. Lisa looked happy and peaceful. It felt like the perfect ending to their long courtship and the start of a brand new chapter. For many people watching from the outside, everything looked flawless. They were known as one of the sweetest, most devoted couples in Hollywood. But in reality, small cracks were starting to appear in their relationship. At first, these cracks were too small to notice. Over time, they got bigger and bigger, and eventually they led to an unexpected breakup that surprised almost everyone. Quiet troubles, signs of stress, and rumors in their marriage. All love stories go through tough times, and Jason and Lisa's was no different. While they often looked joyful in public, whisperings of tension began to follow them. Fans noticed small signs. They appeared less and less together at events, or they sometimes seemed distant when they were photographed. At first, many people assumed they were simply busy, but behind the scenes, deeper issues were growing. One major shift happened when Jason's career skyrocketed. He had worked on smaller shows like Game of Thrones, which got him some attention, but everything truly changed when he starred in Aquaman. The film made Jason a huge star across the globe. Suddenly, he was traveling nonstop for film shoots, press interviews, and premieres in different countries. Jason enjoyed this new level of fame, but it also meant spending long stretches away from home. Meanwhile, Lisa preferred a quieter life and did not want to be constantly in the spotlight. She had been famous from a young age, thanks to her earlier acting success. By the time Jason became a superstar, Lisa already felt tired of all the glitz and crowds. She loved having quiet moments at home, focusing on her children and her personal projects. While Jason often rushed around the world, Lisa stayed in Los Angeles, taking care of their family and living her life outside Hollywood's bright lights. At first, they made it work. They balanced his busy schedule with her need for peace, but slowly the distance grew larger. Being apart for weeks or months at a time can strain any relationship, and it started to affect Jason and Lisa in serious ways. They still respected each other, but it became hard for them to find time to reconnect and be fully present. Another layer of complexity came from Lisa's strong friendship with her ex-husband, rock musician Lenny Kravitz. Lisa and Lenny had a daughter together, actress Zoe Kravitz. Over the years, Lisa and Lenny stayed close friends, which was good for co-parenting Zoe. At the same time, insiders whispered that this bond sometimes made Jason feel left out. He admired Lenny publicly and tried to be supportive, but it's possible that a little insecurity or jealousy formed. Perhaps it felt strange to share so much of Lisa's emotional world with her past partner. Jason's own words once reflected a moment of anger or frustration. He allegedly muttered that Lisa was disgusting, though he later explained this was more about his own feelings than it was about her. It was a sign of how unhappy and disconnected he felt. When small problems and differences add up over many years, it can create a giant wedge between two people who once thought they would be together forever. Through all these challenges, Jason and Lisa kept up appearances. They smiled at photos and wrote each other sweet messages online. Most fans assumed they were doing fine, but the truth was much more fragile than anyone realized. The big reveal: their surprising separation goes public. By January 2022, rumors of strain became impossible to ignore. Suddenly, Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet announced that they were separating after more than a decade together. Fans were truly shocked. How could two people who seemed so close and devoted decide to end their marriage? Their official statement was calm and loving, but it did not answer every question on people's minds. In their public message, Jason and Lisa did not point fingers or blame each other. Instead, they spoke about changes in their lives and in the world around them. They mentioned how everyone was going through transformational times, especially during the global difficulties of the past couple of years. While they did not go into detail, it was clear they both felt they had drifted apart. Many fans hoped it was just a rough patch. Some wondered if they would make up and get back together, especially since they had two children who seemed so precious to them. But Jason and Lisa explained that they had already been separated for a while, since around October 2020. That meant they were announcing the news more than a year after they had begun living separate lives. Friends who knew them well were not as shocked. Those close to the family shared that Jason and Lisa had been having a hard time keeping up with their different priorities. Jason loved exploring new movie opportunities, while Lisa felt happiest living a life away from the noise of Hollywood. On top of that, the heavy travel schedule, the distance, and the stress of raising children in such a public world wore them down. They promised, however, to stay united for their kids, Lola and Nakoa Wolf. Jason was clear that he would remain a strong presence in their children's lives. Lisa, too, believed in raising them with kindness and mutual respect. This commitment to co-parenting helped calm the usual storm that follows many celebrity breakups. Instead of a messy fight, they showed they could make a grown-up decision to part ways. Still, fans and the media wanted to know more. Was there someone else involved? Was there a big argument? Or was it just that they grew apart? Neither Jason nor Lisa rushed to give interviews. For the most part, they kept their feelings private. But the quiet ending still led to chatter everywhere. People saw them as the perfect match, and this change felt like a reminder that even the strongest connections can bend and break under the weight of real life. In the days and weeks after the announcement, both Jason and Lisa continued to move forward separately. Jason focused on his upcoming film projects and spent time with his children whenever possible. Lisa stayed true to her love of serenity, staying close to her home in Los Angeles. Many of us were left with one big question: would they ever share the deeper truth behind why their marriage ended? Stepping apart. Gracefully, the calm way they handled their divorce. A year later, in January 2023, Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet officially finished their divorce. To everyone's surprise, there were no loud arguments or shocking stories. Instead, they went through the whole process with remarkable kindness toward each other, as though they had quietly agreed to protect their family from unnecessary pain. In court documents, the reason listed was simply irreconcilable differences, a broad legal term that can mean many things. But for them, it appeared to really be about life paths that no longer matched. According to people close to them, the time they spent apart before telling the public helped them figure out many details in advance. By the time they filed for divorce, they already had an agreement on how to split their belongings, their money, and their responsibilities toward their children. They decided on joint custody of their two children, Lola and Nakoa Wolf, meaning both Jason and Lisa would share the time and duties of raising them. Neither asked for money from the other. and they quietly settled how to manage any shared properties. Friends close to them said their main focus was giving Lola and Nakoa Wolf as much stability as possible. They didn't want the kids to suffer from adult disagreements. This mature approach was refreshing in a celebrity world where divorces often become battles played out in front of cameras. People who knew them said it fit their personalities. Jason and Lisa had never loved big, flashy drama, so it was no surprise that even their breakup stayed calm. In public statements, they repeated how important it was for them to remain a family in spirit, even if they were not husband and wife anymore. During this time, Lisa also continued to co-parent her older daughter, Zoe Kravitz, with her ex-husband, Lenny Kravitz. Jason stayed friendly and supportive toward Zoe, showing he remained part of her life. It seemed clear that while they had ended their romantic relationship, they still had a deep sense of respect for one another's children and family ties. While there was no huge fighting or scandal, one cannot forget that divorce, no matter how friendly, can be emotionally tough. There had once been love, shared dreams, and vows exchanged. Now that chapter was over. Both Jason and Lisa were free to move on to new chapters. But that didn't mean it was easy. In many ways, their peaceful divorce served as an example. They proved that two people could respect each other's needs, even when they realized they are too different to remain married. Family remained their top priority, and they did not let bitterness overshadow that. However, questions still lingered. Was there a single moment that drove them apart? Did Jason's sudden stardom truly change who he was inside? Or did Lisa simply want a different pace of life? When Jason finally opened up about these issues, people were surprised by how raw and honest he was. Jason speaks out, his honest words about why things fell apart. For many months after the breakup went public, Jason Momoa barely said anything about what caused it. He talked about his movie projects, environmental work, and personal interests, but he avoided discussing Lisa. This silence made fans even more curious. They wondered if the tabloids were right about hidden problems, maybe unfaithfulness, strong jealousy, or huge arguments behind the scenes. Finally, about a year after the divorce was finalized, Jason decided to share more. In an exclusive interview, he admitted he had felt deeply confused about love and career. He said that back when he was not yet a big star, he would do almost anything to secure acting roles. It was a time of hustle and hope. Then everything changed once Aquaman became a blockbuster. Doors opened everywhere for him. He was filming in different countries, joining major movie franchises, and traveling constantly for promotions. At first, this sounded like a dream come true, but Jason realized that success could also bring a heavy cost. Long workdays, late-night flights, and constant pressure to keep succeeding made it difficult to focus on his personal life. Lisa, on the other hand, had no interest in that non-stop Hollywood lifestyle. She had been in the spotlight once before and preferred a quieter routine. Jason pointed out that the split was about much more than physical distance. It was about how his new life clashed with Lisa's desire to stay grounded. He felt torn because he loved acting and enjoyed his rising fame, but he also loved Lisa and their children. Trying to juggle these different parts of his life became harder every day. He said that whenever he returned to Los Angeles, he barely had the energy to reconnect with Lisa before he had to leave again for another project. The couple found they no longer recognized each other's hopes and daily needs. Jason then mentioned his moment of frustration, where he said something like, "She's disgusting." That statement sparked huge interest online, but he wanted to set the record straight. He explained that he did not truly mean Lisa was horrible as a person. Rather, it was a burst of anger that came from his own disappointment and feeling powerless. He saw the woman he once adored become someone distant. It was as if they were looking at each other across a wide gap, not as loving partners, but as strangers who could not see eye to eye anymore. He confessed that their bond simply was not the same. When that admiration disappears, Jason said, it's really hard to pretend everything's okay. He spoke honestly about how once you stop seeing your partner as the person you admire and respect, negative feelings can grow quickly. It was not that Lisa became a different person. It was that their individual journeys pulled them down different roads. Jason's thirst for fame and adventure, combined with Lisa's calm and private life, created a wedge they could not fix. For some time, they tried to pretend or minimize the problem for the sake of the kids. but eventually both realized it was doing more harm than good. The more Jason chased big roles and traveled the world, the more Lisa felt she could not follow. He wished their relationship could have stayed as strong as it was in the beginning. However, life changes and people change, sometimes faster than we expect. By sharing his story, Jason seemed to find some peace. He expressed sadness that the relationship did not last, but also recognized it was time to let go. People praised him for being open about his struggle. It is never easy to admit that you might have pushed away someone you love by focusing too much on a career or other dreams. But Jason wanted others to learn from his mistakes. Love alone does not magically solve problems when two people lead very different lives. In the end, Jason made it clear there was no villain in their marriage. It was not about betrayal. It was about the normal but painful reality that two people can grow apart. Some days that truth is harsher than any scandal. But as Jason said, sometimes it's just over when it's over, and you have to accept that and keep moving forward. A family first. How their children help them both heal. Even when two adults decide they can no longer share a life as partners, they remain connected if they have children. That was certainly true for Jason and Lisa. Their two kids, Lola and Nakoa Wolf, became the main focus of their attention and care once the parents decided to go separate ways. Jason has always been open about how much family means to him. He often talks about his Hawaiian heritage and how important strong family bonds are to him. He calls his children the treasures of his life. Lisa, who had already been a mother before with daughter Zoe Kravitz, also placed enormous value on providing a loving and stable home. Their children's happiness was the single biggest motivation for Jason and Lisa to remain on friendly terms and to put their differences aside. Once the couple separated, they made clear decisions about co-parenting. They wanted their kids to feel safe, loved, and not caught in the middle of adult issues. This meant talking openly to Lola and Nakoa Wolf about the changes in their family. They used simple words so the kids would not be confused or frightened by what was happening. They also explained that while their mom and dad were not going to be married anymore, the love for them would never change. Jason, despite traveling for film shoots, still made every effort to create quality time with his kids. Whether it was an afternoon surf session, a family dinner, or a quick trip to meet him on set, he was determined to stay involved. Lisa, meanwhile, kept a routine that the children could rely on. She provided structure, from morning breakfasts at home to quiet evenings doing homework or reading. Even though Lisa and Jason no longer lived under the same roof, they communicated often. They set up a schedule that made sense for everyone. In fact, sources say that co-parenting became a sort of healing process for both of them. Each time they saw Lola and Nakoa Wolf flourish, they remembered what was most important: raising kind, happy, and confident children. Instead of blaming each other for the breakup, they poured their energy into ensuring the children felt supported. This unity made the transition smoother. The kids could see that even if mom and dad were not together, they still worked as a team. Jason's care extended to Lisa's older daughter Zoe from her marriage with Lenny Kravitz. Over the years, Jason showed he cared for Zoe as well, cheering on her acting roles and personal achievements. Although his marriage to Lisa ended, his bond with Zoe did not vanish. He was proud of her talents and wanted her to feel that he still believed in her. That set a good example for the younger kids, showing that relationships within a blended family can last even through major changes. Because Lisa and Jason stayed so focused on their children, they found themselves letting go of anger and resentment faster. Seeing Lola and Nakoa Wolf laugh together, succeed at school projects, or simply smile eased their hearts. They realized they still had one very strong link. That link was worth protecting and nurturing, no matter what happened between them as ex-spouses. Not all divorces can be handled so peacefully, of course, but Jason and Lisa seemed determined to rise above typical Hollywood drama. They refused to let their personal hurt overshadow the well-being of their kids. Over time, this approach became an inspiration to many people watching from the outside. Their story showed that a family doesn't have to be perfect or even remain together in the same way to still be a family. As long as there is love, respect, and the willingness to support each other, healing can happen. Today, both Jason and Lisa remain active parts of their children's lives. They celebrate birthdays and holidays, sometimes even in the same place. While the marriage is over, the family bond continues. And that is a powerful reminder that even when love changes shape, it can still be a guiding force for everyone involved. Could they ever reunite? Now that everyone knows Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet are no longer together as a couple, many people ask if there is any chance they might get back together in the future. Their chemistry once seemed so strong, and sometimes love stories do have second chances. So what are the possibilities? On one hand, both Jason and Lisa have made it clear they respect each other's choices. They ended their marriage without accusing each other of terrible things. They have also demonstrated they are focused on co-parenting and staying friendly. This healthy connection leads some fans to believe that maybe one day they will fall back in love. After all, if the main reason they broke up was because their paths in life no longer matched, could their paths match again in the future? Some celebrity couples do break up and then, later, find their way back to each other. They might discover after some time apart that they still share an unbreakable bond. If Jason's career calms down, or if Lisa decides to be more open to traveling, they might reconnect. Life is unpredictable, and both have shown they can adapt to changes. On the other hand, they have grown into separate lives that seem pretty comfortable for each of them. Lisa remains dedicated to her children and her private interests, such as spiritual practices, art, and quiet, creative projects. She lived in the Hollywood spotlight from a young age and might prefer never to step fully into it again. Jason, in contrast, is in a phase of major growth as an actor and public figure. His fans love him for his big personality, and he takes on roles that require him to be front and center. He has environmental projects and charity events that keep him moving across the globe. It is not obvious that he plans to slow down anytime soon. People close to Jason say he is exploring a new chapter in his life, focusing on personal growth and self-reflection. He has realized that chasing stardom can harm personal relationships if not balanced, so perhaps he will find a better balance. But that does not guarantee he and Lisa will become a couple again. Sometimes when two adults break away from an old pattern, they learn lessons they carry into brand new relationships. As for Lisa, she has not made public statements suggesting she wants to give the marriage another shot. She seems calm and accepting about the breakup. Loved ones say she is concentrating on her own well-being and her children's future. There is no talk of her rushing into any new romance, nor is there a strong sign she is waiting for Jason to come back. Fans might continue to hope for a reunion, but only Jason and Lisa truly know if that's what they want. Even if they never become romantic partners again, their bond remains through their kids, and they clearly share a deep respect that might be called a kind of love. Sometimes that is just as meaningful as being in a married relationship. So is there a chance? Yes, but it might be slim. Reconciliation after such a decisive separation can happen, but usually only if both sides strongly feel they belong together again. It may not be enough that fans want it or that they have a good co-parenting relationship. They also need to share the same vision of where their lives are heading and be prepared to rebuild trust, closeness, and that special spark that first brought them together in 2005. Ultimately, life holds many surprises. Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet have shown they can handle change with grace. Whether they remain apart or find themselves on the same path once more, they have proven they are capable of maturity and respect. Time will tell the rest of their story. For now, all we can say is that they have moved on to separate adventures, but they still share the same treasure, their children and the bond of a family that never fully goes away. What do you think about Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet's story? Their journey reminds us that love can change shape, and we can still keep respect and warmth for each other even when parting ways. Feel free to share your own insights and experiences with love, family, or big life changes. We would love to hear your comments and thoughts. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe the channel.